It was Tuesday, October the 13th, 1992. I remember we just finished wrestling practice. I'm leaving campus with my friends, but I knew my mom had made ribs and greens, and that was the dinner I was looking forward to when I got home that night. So I had to catch the number 5 bus to get home. When I got off the bus, I crossed the street. It was a street called Sinclair Lane. And I decided to take the quickest path to get home, which was cut across the school field, which is dark, they had no lights. I had on some headphones. I got right beside my house. I felt someone behind me, and I turned around. When I turned around, there was 2 guys there, and vividly remember the guy that had on this shirt that looked like the shirt that Charlie Brown wore. He was the one to pull the trigger. I smelled like sulfur, my ears were ringing, my skin was burning. I had no idea that I had been shot. The only thing I can vividly remember is me cursing and being upset because they put a hole in my jacket. And I didn't realize that I had a hole in my chest and I was bleeding to death. My stepdad came out the house. I started to cough up blood, and I didn't want my mom to see it. And so I wouldn't spit the blood out. Instead, I swallowed it. That was a big mistake because I began to choke off my own blood. I remember getting into the ambulance, and the pain just wouldn't stop. I kept telling the female paramedic that I was sleepy and I just wanted to take a nap. And I vividly remember her telling me, she said, "Baby, if you close your eyes, you're never gonna open them again." She said, "If you just do me a favor," she said, "if you count the street lights, we'll get you to the hospital." The actual recovery was about 2 years because I had to lay flat on my back for 2 years. I couldn't take a shower or a bath for myself. Someone would actually have to pick me up. Psychologically, I was so damaged, I didn't want to do anything except stay in the house and hide. Yeah, I was honestly, I was too afraid to go to school. Anytime I would hear a car backfire, if I heard a balloon burst, anything that sounded like a gunshot would freak me out. I had no idea who shot me. Even though the guy shot me at point blank range, I could not remember how they looked whatsoever. So it's December 31st, 1996, 4 years since I've been shot. On New Year's Eve in Baltimore, a lot of people decide to take out guns and shoot at midnight. I decided I was going to take my stepfather's gun and I was going to end my life that night. I didn't know what else to do. 2 of my friends, they rang my doorbell and they asked me would I go to church with them. I didn't need to go to church. There was no need to go to church because there was nothing for me there. When I was young, I was an altar boy, and I've always been a man of faith, always attended church. But during that time, I blamed God. Why would he allow me to get shot? And I remember sitting in my apartment, and I can hear them steadily screaming up to my window, we're not going to leave until you agree to go to church with us. So I said, fine, I'll go. We go into the church and we walk up the steps and I sit directly in the back. I was going to slide out the back door of that church and go. Reverend Cole sat there and just talked to us about that we all go through our night seasons. And I remember him open up his Bible and he said, we're going to go to one scripture in the Bible. It was in the book of Psalms, Psalms 30, verse 5, which read, "For his anger endureth but a moment, in his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." And he said, if you just hold on, your joy will come. It felt like he was only talking to me. I felt like warm and just happy for once that I haven't felt in a long time. I didn't feel the anger. I couldn't be that guy anymore. I couldn't be the angry guy because it wasn't getting me anywhere. I knew I had to do things different. I had to forgive the man that put a hole in my chest. Because for 4 years, 2 months, and 18 days, he held that kind of power over me. He could have been living a good life. I didn't know it. And I was just messed up from a bullet being put in my chest. I knew I had to forgive him. I remember running to the front of that church. I was crying uncontrollably. And I remember the pastor of the church just grabbed me and he hugged me. And he just kept saying, welcome home, welcome home. That's all he kept saying to me. From there, I went back to college. I graduated and got a degree. And instead of going to get an MBA, I decided to go study about God. A seminary is a place that you go to get theological training. I met a guy by the name of Chaplain Christopher Wallace, and Chaplain Wallace oversaw many of the prisons in Baltimore City. So we would go to the prison and work with these men on etiquette, resume writing, those kind of things to give them some marketable skills for when they were about to come home. The blessing in me being shot is the fact that I'm able to talk to young men or young women who feel like they can't go on. I'm able to talk to somebody who very well may want to shoot or stab or kill somebody. When he saw me, either he would call me, hey DC, hey Coop. He would call me Damo. He would call me Minister Coop. We would talk. So there was a measure of trust. So I learned the fact that he was the guy in the neighborhood who was always picked on. His dad was killed in prison. His mom didn't make a whole lot of money. She strung out on drugs. He had to be the one taking care of his sisters. So he decided to get with the wrong crowd. And during that time, he had to prove to them that he was worthy of being around these guys. So as we're talking and I'm asking him, hey, I'm going through the same checklist I usually go through. Are there any crimes that you committed that you were never charged for? And he knew that he was in a safe place, so he was free and open to tell me. He said, me and my boy saw this dude get off the number 5 bus. We saw him cross the street, Sinclair Lane. We followed him through the schoolyard, and we followed him as he walked down the street. He had no idea who was behind him. And he said, my boy told me, yo, if you're going to do it, you got to do it now. He said, so we ran up on him. And he said he turned around, he had this look on his face. And he said, before anything could be said, I pulled the trigger. I pulled the trigger and I bust him. And as he said that, I stopped. And from there, I proceeded to unbutton my shirt. And he had this look on his face of fight or flight because he didn't know what was about to happen. And I pulled down my T-shirt and I showed him the hole in my chest. And I said, you shot me. So he sat there and I told him that I forgave him during a church service on December 31st, 1996. That I told this man to his face in this prison that I forgive you. He didn't know how to handle that. He broke down in tears, and we dealt with everything right there. I never turned him in. This was finally done. This young man now is a father of 2. He now has his associate's degree from Baltimore City Community College. And every single Saturday, like clockwork, we talk. We both need to continue to hold each other up to remember what happened, because I don't think anyone comes out inherently bad. You're taught to hate. You're taught to fear. You're taught these things. I'm actually able to see the man that shot me flourish. That does a whole lot for me.